First, I'll just have you introduce yourself for our viewers.
Well, for those of you who know nothing about the world, I'm Bette Davis, the most famous movie star in the world, and still am.
And what are you doing here in Denver today?
What the hell am I doing here in Denver today on a day like today? I'm here in a blizzard, but it's wonderful. It's actually an early winter wonderland. But I'm here to promote the event that we're doing tomorrow night at the Tivoli. And they're showing my original version of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, as well as a sneak preview of Baby Jane, the parody that we just finished making. So I'm terribly excited about that being shown as well.
And what are your impressions of Denver so far?
Well, the people have been wonderful, so considerate and so accommodating and friendly and welcoming. So I'm having a wonderful time. Unfortunately, because of the inclement weather, I haven't gotten much of a chance to see the city, but I did make it around the block once.
Excellent. And you've played quite a variety of characters.
Indeed I have.
From victim in
Yes.
Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte to
yes.
villain in Baby Jane. Which do you think is closer to the real Bette Davis?
Well, there's a little bit of me in all of the roles that I've played, but I must say it's always much more fun to play the meanie. And so I think in many ways Jane herself, Baby Jane, was a victim herself in many ways. And the poor thing, I mean, she wasn't a bad person trying to be good. She was a sick person trying to be well. And you have to understand, too, that Baby Jane was made on a shoestring budget and then became an incredible, sensational sleeper hit. So when we made Charlotte, the original title of Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte was Whatever Happened to Cousin Charlotte, and it's written by the same author, Henry Farrell. And the one caveat, the one condition I had about making it was that they had to change the title, because I thought people would think it was a sequel. In many ways, it was. It was to follow up with the success of Baby Jane and the reteaming of Joan Crawford and myself, but unfortunately she wasn't able to make it through. I ate her alive, and she had to be replaced by Olivia de Havilland. But Charlotte was a lot of fun, and it was a Grand Guignol, spooky house kind of a story, and Southern Gothic, so I really enjoyed both. And, well, I sort of digress, but I do, if a role is good, whether it is the villain or the victim, I'll play it.
You mentioned Joan Crawford. There's quite a bit of talk about the relationship between you two.
Yes, it is.
What are your feelings about her? What was your relationship really like?
I felt sorry for her in the last analysis, especially that horrible book that her ungrateful daughter wrote about her. I mean, how sharper than a serpent's tooth it is to have a thankless child. And as I've said before, there's nothing wrong with writing something like that down for, if it is indeed true, to write something like that down or to share it with your therapist, but don't call a publisher. I think that was in really poor taste and just downright hateful.
And you had a similar experience with your daughter writing a book, correct?
I did.
And were you ever able to reconcile with your daughter?
No. You don't forgive someone for doing something like that. And it would have been horrible had she wrote it after my death. Well, obviously I'm still alive, so that didn't kill me, but at the time I was still alive and she wrote that horrible, horrible book about me. And you really can't forgive somebody for that. Ultimately, I feel sorry for her too. I think she's terribly misguided.
When you were filming your movies and things like that, the actresses like yourself really had to dress up and wear the furs and wear all these glamorous clothes. Since then, though, we've had the women's movement, and women aren't expected to wear dresses and high heels.
No, nobody dresses up anymore.
What are your thoughts about that?
Well, it's rather ridiculous. I mean, people go to Broadway plays wearing jeans. I mean, nobody dresses up. Where's the elegance? Where's the style? Where's the panache? I mean, it's so sad. I mean, there are some people who really appreciate that and bring that back, and they stand out, and people love that. You've got to realize I had a whole retinue of incredible costume designers behind me. I had Edith Head making this incredible gown that I'm wearing for All About Eve. Did you want to get a long shot of it? Actually, the wonderful Chris March, I must give credit where credit is due, from Project Runway, recreated the dress that Edith wore for me, since it was so long ago and had to be redone. But I mean, it doesn't get better than this, does it?
No, it certainly does not. So then, what are your thoughts about the women's movement in general, and this supposed empowering of women to wear jeans and sneakers and...
Well, as I said earlier, a lot of people didn't know, I refused to wear a bra. Ever. In any of my movies, and it drove the costume designers crazy, but I'm sorry, that was who I was. So if that was a march forward for the women's movement and being au naturel, I would like to think I was part of that at an early age. And I think that we let men think that they rule the world, but come on, and let's be honest. We know that the women are running the show.
All right. Let's see. And switching gears a little bit, what was your...
I love switching gears.
What was your favorite film that you were a part of?
You know, I'm constantly asked that, and they're all favorites for different reasons. Some are lesser known and more obscure, but each one was a learning experience. But I'd have to say if there were a handful that stood out or were audience favorites, it would have to be, well, I won 2 Academy Awards for Dangerous, which was really a completely forgettable film, and it was really a consolation prize for my playing Mildred in Of Human Bondage, which really shocked the world in its time, 1934. So I'd like to think of myself as being a progressive actress and bringing to the screen not just the illusion of constant glamour, but to also put on screen the grotesque and the ugly as well, to really reflect humanity as it really is. But Of Human Bondage definitely was one of my signature favorites. That really sort of put me on the map and made me a bona fide star. I won an Academy Award for Jezebel. That's a nice film. But if you were to ask me my personal favorites, I would have to say Now Voyager does stand out as one of my favorites. And All About Eve. I mean, the screenplay by Joseph Mankiewicz, it still stands and remains as one of the most perfect screenplays of all time. And the ultimate film about stage. And of course, Baby Jane. And of course, I loved doing Hush, Sweet Charlotte as well. But I approach each of them as being my favorite film. I mean, ultimately, what they do with it in the post-production and the editing, I have no control over that, but I would have to say those would be but some of my favorite films.
How do you think some of those films that may not have been received the way you would have liked them to be received in their time, how do you think they would be received if they were released today?
Well, that's the beauty of film, it's forever. And many people have the opportunity. The film is ready there for the watching, for the viewer at any time. So a lot of people haven't discovered me until recent years. And although it's work that I've done many, many, many years ago, it's still fresh and new. And God bless Turner Classic Movies for the digital restoration of film. And it looks like it was made yesterday. So that gives me great comfort to know that it's a library that's there forever and that people will still be discovering and rediscovering my work on film. So for that I'm very, very grateful.
And watching one of your webisodes, I hear that you have a special recipe for baking a cake.
Oh dear God.
What's your secret?
Well, having a real good cook in the house. That's not me. But I made a go of it, and it just turned out to be a complete disaster. I mean, all of us have specialized talents, and I must admit, I don't think mine is in the kitchen.
Does that mean you are looking for a man whose talent is in the kitchen?
I'm looking for a man with talent, period. If you know what I'm saying. And I think you do, Sonny.
Perhaps.
Or a woman. Again, we rule the world, so... Ladies' choice.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just that I'm having a ball here in Denver. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow night. This is really my first time having a wonderful time staying here at the Court. It's a very beautiful, elegant hotel. And I couldn't feel more welcomed and with open arms from Denver. So I'm having a ball, and I hope tomorrow is a wonderful show as well.